I'm Jay Porter, and I fight for truth, justice, and the right to wear spandex. Good evening, parents all! Folks, I got to admit I'm a little confused tonight. I thought I was showing up to audition for a new TV show, a new reality show, America's Next Great White Rapper Over 60. But a little bit about myself. I spent 40 years traveling all over the United States working in animal management. That's called construction. So when I retired, I took up stand-up comedy. I wanted to become an Instagram influencer, but I simply wasn't willing to get the boob job. And here I am, I'm retired. Inflation's getting to me. It's killing me. It's killing all of us. So, I'm thinking about, I need a new gig. I'm going to set up an OnlyFans site for myself. And I'm going to sell pictures of my feet. That's because there's a lot of sick people who are into S&M. You know what that stands for? That's right, sandals and moccasins. So a lot of people all the time are asking, you're retired, how do you stay busy? Well, first thing I'm a little ashamed of, I scroll. I scroll too much. We all do. So here's the thing about scrolling. You got to watch that algorithm. If you watch puppy videos, you're going to get puppy videos. If you watch kitten videos, you're going to get kitten videos. And if you watch 400-pound women on stripper poles, don't linger. Do not linger. And I try not to spend a lot of time watching television. I mean, what's prime time now? Remakes of old game shows from 60 years ago? New game shows that don't make any sense at all. Tonight on ABC TV, it's gender hijinks galore on What Pronoun Am I? And then we got reality television. Shows like the 600-pound pimple-popping housewives of Orange County. And then the weekend, it gets worse. It goes off the rails. Ancient alien theorists. Where was that on career day in high school? I could have been an alien. I could have been a crop circle decoder, an alien autopsy leader. But the other day I saw something on television that got me really excited. I, for the first time in years, saw the old show Gilligan's Island. And I told a friend of mine about it, and he asked me the big Gilligan's question. Ginger or Mary Ann? And I thought for just a second, I said, at my age, Mrs. Howell's not starting to look too bad. And so, another thing, I try to watch as you get older, you gotta watch your health. I go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, I swim, I lift weights. Got one problem at the gym. It's the attire. Some of the young women's wear they wear these skin-tight, flesh-tone yoga shorts, or as I refer to them, as camel toe accentuators. And then, I had my diet, I had my physical a couple of weeks ago. I try to watch what I eat. I watch it being cooked on my plate, in my mouth, have my physical, and they're always pushing your doctor, the plant-based, the vegan. And right now, I've evaluated my diet, and I'm about 2% vegan. You know what? And if I was milk, I'd be pretty darn healthy. And so, veganism is putting a lot of stress on modern relationships. I heard 2 women talking just the other day, and they said, have you talked to your husband about going vegan yet? And she replied, well, yes, I have, but unfortunately, he still has his testicles. But I have evaluated my diet, and I figured out I can do 1 vegan meal a day. Oreos and potato chips. We can do this, folks. So, because I'm retired, I have time to think about things that you just don't have time to think about if you're working. So, I'm reading this thing the other day about unusual college majors. Puppetry. What kind of darn classes do you take in a puppetry major? Sock Puppets 101, Marionette Management, ventriloquism, when good puppets go bad. And then I figured out that the entire women's fragrance and perfume industry, they got it wrong. You see, I was at this comedy club a few weeks ago, and I foolishly left my wallet at home, and I was getting hungry. I was getting hungry as a bear. And these women start to walk past my table, and I went, "You smell like nachos." And then, just why the heck would you name a brand of condoms Trojans? When I think about Trojans, I think about a gift entering a gate. Inside that gift, there's an army. And when that army escapes, it causes chaos and destruction. So speaking of chaos and destruction, I have 2 grandsons, aged 5 and 7. I'm driving them home the other day, and out of the back, the little one blurts, "When I grow up, I'm going to buy a blue bearded dragon, but not off the dark web." And his brother blurts out, "Yeah, that's a sketchy website." So my head flips around like Linda Blair from The Exorcist, and I said, "Where did you hear about the dark web?" And they went, "YouTube videos." So parents, grandparents, do your kids and grandkids a favor. Please expose them to those old, extremely violent, politically incorrect Looney Tune cartoons where they're going to learn about classical music from Bugs Bunny and theoretical physics from the Coyote. Can we do this, folks? And finally, the one person that supports me and spends most of my time in my life is my wife of 42 years. She's in the front row. Give it up for Mrs. Porter. And people all the time ask me, "How do you do it?" And I respond with the most logical response I can come up with. "You haven't seen me naked." You didn't have to laugh. So we like to travel, and I'm going to finish up with a little story here from a few years ago on a trip we took. Now, men my age, we developed what I'm going to call a leakage problem. And to solve that, we wear a pee pad. So I hadn't had my leakage problem too long, and we headed out on a trip. So when I get to the airport, I always volunteer that I have an artificial knee and artificial hip, and they give me a little extra wanding. Now TSA, that stands for tension, stress, and anxiety. So I go through and they do their little extra wanding, and then this TSA agent starts wanding around my groin in a circle and starts patting around my groin in a circle. And it goes on and goes all of it. And then I look behind me, and there on the computer screen was an outline of my body. And over my groin was a white rectangle. And at that moment, I knew I was a suspected pee pad terrorist. So the patting continues and the wanding continues. The wanding continues, the patting continues. It goes on. And finally, I'd had enough of it. I rose my hand in the air. And I said, "Excuse me, sir. I am wearing a pee pad. If you will just allow me to reach in, pull it out, you can examine it, and we can all go about our day." Well, one cannot just be brandishing a pee pad of mass destruction at the airport. So this employee did what any good employee would do. They got their supervisor involved. And the first thing he noticed, I was wearing a belt. So after the belt was removed, the patting and frisking continued. And it continued. And then he started going up and down my sides, up and down my sides. And my pants started to fall off. Out of the goodness of his heart, he allowed me to take one hand and hold my pants up and put the other one in the air. And he continued to frisk and wand and frisk and wand. And I began to feel hopeless, helpless. I looked behind me, looking for the one person I could depend on, my wife. And she had turned her back on me, and it was chortling in laughter. Well, the frisking continued just a little bit more, and he informed me of an official TSA maneuver called the crotch grapple. After the appropriate or inappropriate crotch grappling was performed, I was told I was no longer a threat to national security. I stumbled forward, my pants still about to fall off, shoeless. I didn't know if I needed a cuddle or a cigarette, but as God is my witness, I will never wear a pee pad to the airport again. Thank you, I'm Dave Porter.